What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another tips and tricks video. So like with the previous videos, if you guys are a veteran player, this probably isn't for you. This is more for the newer players or some of the returning players. And today's video is focused around just the reinforcements. So I'll be talking about like the enforcers, the infiltrators, like the jump troopers, the jet trooper, the flame troopers, etc. So these are a few tips that the game just doesn't straight up tell you. You kind of have to do some testing to figure this stuff out. And I think that a lot of these tips will come in handy when you're out on the battlefront. So these aren't in any particular order. These are just kind of rapid fire. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So to start us off, we have the Sith troopers. He has this secret animation where if you are sprinting and you hit the melee button, he will do a running kick. Now this doesn't do any extra damage or anything. It's just this secret animation. If you're standing still, he just does a regular melee, but if you are at full sprint and you hit the melee button, he will do a running kick. So I think that looks pretty neat, and if you guys did not know about it, there it is. And then since we're on the topic of the Sith Trooper, as you guys are probably well aware, they have their alternate fire ability, where instead of having the option to zoom in your blaster, you instead activate a secondary fire. And what a lot of people don't realize is that you can actually hold this in and sort of rapid fire it. I know personally I would just fire one at a time, because when you use it, it's kind of slow and clunky, and it just feels like you have to shoot it off and then maybe shoot with your other blaster or let it cool down a little bit. But if you actually hold in the zoom button, your character will just keep firing them over and over and over until they overheat their blaster. And then if you time the reload just right, you can get that active cooling, and you can fire a ton of these, and it does explosive damage. And this is really handy when you're fighting off large groups of people. It's good for taking on heroes. And yeah, just make sure you hold down the trigger instead of just firing them one at a time. And then up next we have the Evasion gunner. Now the Evasion gunner has their shoulder charge ability. Now if you did not know, it can be blocked by saber heroes, but it does the same amount of damage regardless. So if you hit a blaster hero or infantry or a saber hero, when they're not blocking, it will knock them over and you can do extra damage. But keep in mind that it can be blocked and it does the same amount of damage regardless. So don't be afraid to charge these blocking saber heroes, because you might be able to get off just enough damage to finish off the hero. And then up next we have the spy. Now the spy, of course, has their truncheon ability, and this also kind of works like the Sith Trooper, where if you are sprinting and you hit the melee button, you will do this sort of lunge animation. The only difference is that with the truncheon ability, this can actually be chained with multiple swings. So this lunge is pretty handy at getting those people that are just out of reach. And then the ARC Trooper has their Power Blast ability, and the cool thing about this is when you're facing saber heroes, this actually cannot be deflected back at you. It does the same amount of damage regardless if they are blocking or if they aren't blocking. So just keep in mind, when you are an ARC Trooper, they can deflect your regular blaster bolts, but it's a great way to catch them off guard. I couldn't tell you how many times I've hit a hero with a Power Blast and then they realized that they couldn't block it and then they ran away. So what I like to do is throw my shock trap at their feet, hit them with Power Blast, they freak out because they can't block it, and then as soon as they let their block down, that's when I hit them with the shock trap, and it's a really good combo. So the Power Blast is a really good anti-saber hero weapon. And then up next we have the BX droid. Now the BX droid has their smoke screen ability, which works just like Lando's. And by that I mean that saber heroes cannot auto lock onto the BX droid. Now normally when you face a saber hero, they do this auto lock to the nearest enemy, which is why spamming the attack button with a saber hero is so effective, because you sort of auto lock onto the opponent. Well, if you're using Lando Calrissian, or in this case the BX droid, when you lay down a smoke screen, that protects you from that auto lock ability. So when you lay down the smoke, like in this footage, Luke is swinging and he doesn't auto-lock. You actually have to go up and hit him physically with the lightsaber. You can't just lunge at the BX droid. So this is really great at taking on saber heroes because they can't auto-lock onto you. So if you see a saber hero, throw the smoke at your feet, dash in and out of the smoke so that it confuses your opponent, and then use that vibro sword to your advantage. And then up next we have the Republic Commando. Now there's a few things I want to go over with the Commando. And for starters, his anti-armor attachment wrecks pretty much everything. It takes only 2 grenades to blow up an officer's bubble shield. It takes 1 grenade to blow up an officer's turret. Even if they have the upgraded version with the star card to give the turret more health, it will still one-shot their turret. And then even Phasma's droid will also get one-shotted by the Commando's grenade, which is really handy if you're going up against a Phasma. If you see her droid, just pop it with one of these grenades and it will instantly die. And then for the repulsor blast, fast. Just keep in mind that if you're facing a saber hero, that it can be blocked. And then this is just a little bit of an extra tip, but the clone commando is really good at taking on Palpatine, because when you use the middle ability, which is battle focus, it has this siphon effect where you have damage reduction, and then any damage that you do to your opponent will in return heal your commando. So if you take on a try-hard Palpatine up close and personal and you use this ability, you can heal yourself faster than Palpatine can kill you with his lightning, which I think is awesome. And then the next tip is for the Death Trooper. Now, it does not tell you in the description of the Sonic Imploder, so a lot of people are not aware of this, but anyone that is hit by the giant blue radius of the Imploder will be highlighted through walls for you and your teammates. It does not do very much damage. You basically have to hit the opponent directly for this Imploder to do hardly any damage at all, but it does have one of the best blinding effects in the game. And then just try to use the Imploder to your advantage to help highlight your teammates when defending or attacking the objective. The Imploder is really great in certain situations. For example, the very end of Endor, where everybody is fighting in that final phase, you will just highlight the entire room for everybody. Then up next, we have the First Order Jet Trooper. Now, I thought that this was pretty cool when I discovered it, and it is that the splash damage can actually go through bubble shields. So for example, in this clip, I have Leia's bubble shield. Now, if you normally just shoot at the bubble, its blaster bolts will not go through and its grenades will not go through. But if you shoot the ground right in front of the bubble, anybody that's standing close enough to the edge of the bubble will take splash damage. So instead of shooting the bubble directly, if you want to hit the people inside, try shooting at the ground instead of the actual bubble. I've managed to kill quite a few people since I've realized that you could actually do this. And then up next, we have the Flame Trooper. Now, here is another example of using the bubble shield. So if you're going up against a Leia or an officer that happens to have a bubble, just keep in mind that the Flame Trooper's flames can go through the bubble, which is awesome. I couldn't tell you how many times people thought that they were safe when they put the bubble over top of the objective and there's like 4 or 5 people hiding inside of it. You can just safely use your overload ability on the other side of the bubble, and they sort of just trap themselves in it with your flames, which is great. And then another tip for the Flame Trooper is that you need to aim for their chest. I was testing it out to see if you could actually get some extra headshot damage, and you actually do less damage when you shoot at their head and at their feet. From what I was able to find in arcade is when you hit them directly in the chest, that is when it does the most overall damage. So don't aim for the head with the Flame Troopers, aim for the bodies. And then let's talk about the Droideka. As you guys can tell from this footage, the damage drop off is pretty significant. Obi-Wan is only standing a couple feet away from me, and you can already tell that the Droideka is doing less damage. You basically have to be within shotgun radius for the Droideka to be effective. So if you are a new player and you are shooting people with the Droideka and people just aren't dying, it's probably because you are too far away from your target. And then another thing is that the Droideka does explosive damage. So if you are going up against a saber hero and they are blocking, the Droideka will still do damage to them even though they are blocking. And then to avoid getting your blaster bolts deflected back at you and to your teammates, just try shooting at the saber hero's feet. You'll still do damage to your opponent and they will not be able to deflect it back at you. And then the last tip I have for you guys involves the jump troopers. Now, not all jump troopers are the same. In fact, the B2 RP rocket droid actually has more health than all of the other aerial classes. But this also comes at the cost of mobility. As you can see in this clip, the clone can actually dash further than the droid. This has always kind of bothered me. I hate how little that the droid can actually dash. It feels like you're not moving hardly at all. And that's because you aren't. That's kind of the trade-off with the B2 rocket droid. But that is going to do it for all the tips or secrets or things that the game just doesn't straight up tell you for the reinforcements. If there's any tips that I may have missed that you would like the rest of the community to know, post it down in the comments and I will give it a heart so that other people can see it. And that's going to do it for me, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps me out in the algorithm. And then be sure to follow me on all social media, which is at Swanee Plays Games on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And then if you haven't yet, go follow me on Twitch at Swanee Plays Games Live. And then be sure to check out the Discord. The Discord has been growing quite a bit lately with all you new subscribers coming to the channel, which is great. The Discord is a great place for you guys to just meet up, get to know each other, get notified of all the new videos, and it's just a great way to stay updated on everything that is coming to this channel. But with that said, that is going to do it for me, guys, and I will talk to you all in the next video.
Will you join me? Accept your fate. I grew impatient.